Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Marc Paisant. He is a certified personal trainer and also a podcast host. Welcome to the show, Marc.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
You're welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form. I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about physical fitness and mental health. So, in this backdrop, so my first question to you, Marc, is that you are a certified personal trainer. You are a podcast host. You also talk a lot about mental health. Tell us a bit about this so that people understand why you do so, what is the background behind it, and how all these things can be, are interconnected.
Yeah, well, great first question, because I think a lot of time, especially when I was growing up, I kind of disconnected the three things in regard to physical health, mental health, and then just life in general. Like, we all have, as adults, we all have jobs that are stressful. We all have personal issues that are stressful, and we all need to stay in shape. And a lot of times we think it's so difficult to make time for all those things, that we have to do our job, then we have to stay physically fit, then we have to stay mentally fit. And I was trying to do all those things. I was trying to, and I, just as I said, I don't think anyone has that time, or they think they have that time. But when you start to, connect everything, when you start to go to the gym or go for a run and be intentional about it and use it for mental fitness also, when you use it for stress relief also, they're connected. That mind body connection is there. And it's one of those things that once I figured that out, I want to make sure I helped others figure that out too.
Right, right. So for those, you advocate a lot of about therapy and counseling,
Mhm.
and you also talk generally about your years in therapy. So in general terms, what is your understanding? How do I know, or how did you understand that you need therapy? Because a lot of people go through the issues. You went through issues of
Mhm.
ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Others also go through their own issues. How do they ensure that they are not just dealing with it themselves, and they take the right help at the right time? What is the way you can figure that out? A lot of people think, okay, I can do it myself. I
Mhm.
am very a strong person. Help us understand through your story.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that I try to get people to understand is that therapy is not therapy. Counseling is not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. There's the stigma surrounded by it makes people think that only when things get so bad in my life I need to go seek counseling. Well, the thing is that, like, it's not, as I said, when people go for a run or go to the gym, I'm not just going there because I'm absolutely out of shape. I'm so out of shape. Like, I do it consistently because I want to stay in shape. So that's how we have to look at therapy. That's how I think is the best way to look at therapy. I don't want anybody on here to think that they have to wait until their life is in shambles, or they think everything is just going terribly to go to therapy. Therapy is one of those things that it's a benefit to all of us. If things are going great, it's a great check-in to have a therapist to kind of, be proactive about your mental health. If you were like me and you think that, everything was going just horribly, yeah, look into a therapist also. But I want people to understand that the negative stigma, the negative connotation, we need to try our best to get rid of it, because a therapist is there for check-ins too. It's there to help people who think everything is going well. It's there. A lot of us don't have people in our lives that we can just vent to, that we can just talk to without judgment, without something giving back. So I think if we can, like, all of us have this paradigm shift where therapists are there for everyone, not just people who are depressed or anxious or have ADHD or bipolar or anything like that. if you just need a check-in, if you just need someone who can listen to you with a neutral ear, like that's why I do the things I do, because I'm trying to get rid of that negative stigma of, oh, Mark just went to a therapist because he's extremely depressed. No, I just had my check-in. I just wanted to check in with somebody and have a conversation. So that's where I think people kind of can help themselves out by going to therapy, not just when things are terrible, but just as a normal part of their life.
Absolutely, absolutely. No harm in taking the help of therapists. No shame in taking
Correct.
the help of any other, like any other ailment or illness, or you consult a doctor for even cough and cold, and it is totally fine. What's so
Exactly.
difficult? Brain is what runs our body, and it can get exhausted. What's the
Correct.
harm in having a consultation about that? You
Mhm.
go for neurosurgery, you go for every sort of surgery, but when it comes to talking, what's the problem with people? I
Yeah.
don't understand. And that is, I guess, people have to understand that more and more
Mhm.
about it. At any stage, people would need to talk to anyone who has better understanding about the mind than one himself or herself has.
Yes.
Moving on, how was your journey? Like, how did you know that, okay, taking therapy is helping me? And then you come out of that situation and start looking at everything in a different light altogether. I want to understand that transition, that transformation, so that people, it helps remove that stigma or understanding from the outside.
I think it summarized best. I had a guest on my show, and a former colleague in high school, who said it best when she said her therapist helped carry the weight. And it made me think for a second, because, when we think of weight, we think physical weight, we think something tangible, we think, come help me. But she was going through postpartum depression, and she said that was a heavy mental weight that I was holding on every day. And every therapy session, I'd bring all that weight with me, and the therapist would help me carry it and eventually take it away. And I think that always stuck with me. That conversation was a couple years ago, but that always stuck with me, because that's how I felt. Now, I started therapy at I think my first therapy session was 18 or 19 years old, as a college kid. And I was having the college issues that a lot of people go through. You're away from home. It's a new atmosphere, new stressors, things like that. And it helped me put a new perspective on life. And it helped me understand that the little things that I was making huge were just that. They were just little things. They weren't affecting my life. They weren't affecting my relationships. I was blowing them out of proportion. But then I want people to understand is that I didn't go to therapy until years later, and I had a negative therapy experience where I didn't really click with the therapist. He didn't really seem like he was into, my issues or wanted to help me out. And I left a real bad taste in my mouth, and I left the therapy sessions worse than I came in with. And I I didn't give up on therapy, though. I want people to understand that's one of the things I talk about, is not every therapist is going to be the right fit for you. So I ended up finding an absolutely amazing therapist, and I knew this person was the right therapist for me, because I started to look forward to my conversations with him. And I would leave the conversation almost energized. Like, I would spill my guts. I would talk about my relationship. I would talk about my job. I would talk about my relationship with my parents, my brother, my sister, my friends. I would talk about everything going on in my world. And I never left feeling like I had this dense, horrific conversation. I left refreshed and energized, because he gave me the tools, or let me see the tools that I needed to get through my life, to work through the things I need to work with. And I left with a lot of coping mechanisms. I left with ways to find my triggers. And I think that's when I started to understand what this was doing to my life. Like, I felt energized after our hour-long discussion.
Right, right, Mark. And so now, after getting better and be in the position that you are in. Uh, you are now a certified personal trainer. So, how do you bring that when you are training people? How do you bring that whole topic? Obviously, people don't come to you for mental health issues,
Mhm.
but it's a given fact. If you exercise, you feel so rejuvenated. Your
Mm.
mind. You have been a college athlete, so you know about these things. Except that up to a certain point, these things can help. Beyond that, you need extra help. So
Mm.
help us understand the way you tell your uh, clients or the people you train about, or the other people also in their general day-to-day life, how physical fitness can help them, make their mind and mental strength much, much stronger. And maybe these issues will never crop into your life.
So, and you're absolutely right. Like I don't come out here and tell people I'm a therapist or anything like that. Like I do deal specifically with physical fitness and coaching and one-on-one coaching. But the thing about how I go into it, and I want people to, first of all, if there's anything they've done in their past that they've gotten to this point, forgive themselves. Like, hey, you're here now. You've made this decision now. Because a lot of the work I do is with young athletes, and I coach them in one and with soccer. I train them one-on-one in soccer, prepare them to play soccer in college. I train people in basketball to play in high school. And one of the things that I really focus on is making mistakes and their reaction after they make a mistake. Because a lot of the people who are good at their craft, good at their sport, are the hardest on themselves. Like, it doesn't matter what a coach is telling them, it doesn't matter what their parents are telling them. They make a mistake in their head, they are the hardest on themselves. And I make sure that they understand that mistakes are a part of life. Not going to the gym or not getting a run in or not having the greatest first touch in soccer or missing a shot in basketball, things like that. That's part of the game. That's part, like, none of us are perfect. And it's amazing how many of us believe we have to be. And that is one of the things I focus on because I want people to make mistakes. I want to see your response, your reaction to it. And then I want you to see the progress. I make sure that when people are working out with me, they celebrate the progress, even if it's the smallest amount, because if we're progressing, that means we're getting better. And the flip side of that is if we don't progress, if in our heads we think we go backwards, who cares? No harm, no foul. We're still here. We're still working. Like, I'm trying to get people to be nicer to themselves. You'll never see me beat somebody up, mentally because, they may have, not PR'd or made a mistake when we're doing a training session or, something like that. Like, I had a young lady I was working with last week, and we were doing some one-on-one soccer training, and I kind of mixed the soccer training and the strength training conditioning, and I played her a ball, and it was a in between hop, and she kind of clammed up to try to control the ball to make sure she didn't make a mistake. And I stopped. I said, listen, don't do that. You wouldn't do that in a game. Let's make the mistakes now. Be loose, be
Right.
free, let's make the mistakes now and work through them, because I want you to play now how you want to play in the game. And if you clam up right now, if you get really conservative right now, you're going to do the same thing in the game. So let's just be loose, let's be free, and let's have fun, and let's make the mistakes. So I want people to understand that I am their biggest ally. You'll never hear me beating you up. People talk about tough love, they talk about being blunt and all that good stuff. Hey, if that's the type of person you want, that's not me. I'm here to forgive. I'm here to be, to show you grace, to show you empathy, and work with you on that.
Absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. So you talked about nowadays. You have got the podcast. I will come to the podcast and the other stuff. But nowadays you talk about putting yourself first. How
Hmm.
what does that mean in terms of mental health as well as physical health? Obviously, because
Yes.
you will save yourself from a lot of unnecessary stuff that others will make you run for. And that is where, so how I want to understand from you why you say you put yourself first nowadays.
Thank you for asking this, because this is something that so many of us think is incorrect and wrong. And, we all of us have heard that, as I'm a parent and I have two girls, and I'm a husband, and there's other, responsibilities I have. And we totally get into this mindset that I have to give my all to everything else in the world. Like, oh, Mark, you're a parent now. Like, you have to give all your time and all your resources and everything to your kids. And there is this thought process that if I give to everything, if I give myself to everything, then thus I'll be taking care of myself. And it doesn't work like that. And I know it doesn't work like that. So what I mean by putting myself first is to be the best version of myself, to be the best father, husband, brother, cousin, uncle, coworker, neighbor, friend, to be the best version of myself. In any of those cases, I have to take care of my mental and physical health. That's when people get the best version of me. And I tell people all the time, I said, think about all the things that mean a lot to you in your life. Think about your job, think about your hobbies, think about the time you spend with others, think about all those things that mean a lot. Doing podcasts, anything. There's one common denominator in all those things, and that's you. That's me. That's when I put this energy out, I'm the common denominator. So if I can't take care of all of those things and then have them take care of me. I can take care of myself first, mental and physical health, the energy I put out, and that makes me the best brother, son, father. That makes me the best all those other things when I'm taking care of myself. So that's what I mean about putting myself first.
Absolutely. What about, the understanding that others may get? Some people will totally
Mm,
understand it.
mhm.
A lot of people will not understand it. And
Right.
especially those people who are not that close to you, but they show that they are close to you because they want to get a lot of work done from you. They don't mind making you feel guilty about it. How do you deal with that aspect of taking care of yourself?
That is that might be one of the most important questions, because there is a motto that I've learned to live by, and it's control the things that I can control. I understand that there's plenty of people who don't think like me. There's plenty of people who don't have the same, priorities that I have. There's plenty of people who just listen to me talk and say, I don't believe any of that stuff. Or they want to play devil's advocate on everything, and they want to, you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's plenty of people who just won't buy into it. When I started my podcast, I told people, I don't care if one person listens to the show. If I get through to them and they start to believe in themselves, they start to forgive themselves, then I've done what I've needed to do. I think one of the things that social media is one of those things where everyone believes, because everyone can show their opinion and give their opinion, they believe that everyone needs to listen to their opinion, and their opinion matters. And it might be harsh to hear, but here's the thing. No, I
Right.
understand that my opinion doesn't matter. Like, everybody's listening to this. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to believe a word I say. You don't have to believe a word anyone says. So I don't put my energy into people who just wholeheartedly and from jump decide, nope, don't believe this guy. I don't want to do. He's not telling. I don't like. No, that's fine. That's cool. We live in a free society. Do whatever you want to do. That's not where I'm putting my energy. I'm putting my energy in making sure that I'm a father to two girls who are going to grow up and to be successful human beings. To put my energy into my clients who want to get better physically or mentally. I'm putting my energy into, the house I want to build, the family I want to build, to my, my brother's family, my sister's family. Like, I'm putting my energy into those things. I don't have time to try to make everyone around me believe in what I'm saying. So I think if people can just control what they actually can control versus trying to prove everyone else wrong, I think your life will be a lot simpler that way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well put. There is much to learn about these things from you. So tell us about your podcast. You are the host of two podcasts, Relatively Normal and 6 a.m.
Mhm.
Run.com.
Yes, Relatively Normal was a podcast I started probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and it came out of therapy sessions with my therapist and me, where um, I started to really understand what my triggers were, what my coping mechanisms were, and I thought to myself, as I'm understanding this, I want to have those conversations with other people, and I want them to understand, especially men. Like, if men hear me talking about my mental health, I figured they feel more comfortable talking about their mental health. I never once, offered advice on what to do. Like I said, I'm not a therapist, but I brought on therapists who talked about things. And we're in our fifth season right now. New show actually dropped today. And 6 a.m. Run podcast is more on physical fitness and nutrition, but we have everybody on. We have, the audience is parents of young kids, parents of older kids, parents who just want 30 to 45 minutes to talk about fitness and health and financial health and interpersonal traits, things like that. So that's a weekly podcast, also sponsored by 6 a.m. Run. I was brought in by the CEO and co-founder to host that show. So it's kind of a good, it kind of represents my life, where I'm talking about mental health and physical health. It kind of works perfectly. So, if anybody ever wants to listen to something on a lot of physical fitness and nutrition and a lot of things that are I had people keto, I had vegan on the show. I had different people who give different perspectives on give people options on how the best they can live their lives. And then, like I said, relatively normal, it's just me having conversations about mental health and trying to reduce and end the stigma on at least having the conversation on mental health.
Wonderful, wonderful. So those people who would like to learn more from you, more about you, and also, engage with you as a certified personal trainer, what's the
Mm.
best way for them to do so?
So on Facebook, Instagram, you can get me at Paisant_fitness. LinkedIn, you can just look at. I interact a lot on LinkedIn. And it's Marc Paisant, MarcPaisant. And right now, the new website is going to be launching in November, and it's going to be marcpaisant.com. And it's going to be my one-stop shop for everyone, just to go and interact with me and get to my LinkedIn and book me and just have conversations with you. So I'm really excited about the new website. It's going to be great, and I'm putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I look for it probably around Black Friday that it's going to drop, and it's going to have a link to all my podcasts. So I'm really looking forward to that website.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.